Independence Live. Join the guys on the locker room team for a blow-by-blow account of what happened during the games. Remember, the locker room, the best for sport in Scotland.
Good evening, welcome to the show. Another disappointing night of European action involving a Scottish team, and you might be happy because that's the European action over for this season, so none of the Scottish teams will get embarrassed now in European action. So the Hearts got beat by 3-1 by Bathsheba this afternoon. It was the early kickoff, actually, half three. It was that early that I missed 2 minutes of the game, and I missed a goal. But 3-1. At least the Hearts fans could say that they've scored in every away game now this European campaign, but still be put out. Joined tonight by Dave Smith as ever. Dave, your comments on that game. It was quite, I don't know about you, but it was quite a kind of like pre-season game. It had that feel to it.
Yeah, but it was a dead rubber for Hearts, wasn't it? I mean, It wasn't exactly a game in which it wasn't exactly the Scottish Cup final, or it wasn't exactly a game which. But don't get me wrong in this part, Michael. It was a game that was going to earn Hearts a lot of money financially had they got a win tonight, or at least a result tonight. But yeah, there's plenty of time for reflection for Hearts. I mean, let's be honest, as Graham Duffy has touched upon before, they've had a very disappointing Europa Conference League campaign, and let's be honest, could they have done a bit more? 100%. I mean, what could Hearts take from this? Hearts could take from this simply what Celtic and Rangers haven't taken from it, and that's simply the fact that they just haven't been good enough. They've obviously beaten RFS, who, let's be honest, are an inconsistent side in the aspect of just squeezed past one field, but they're also a side that can get a big result in their day as well. So they're a side that obviously Hearts passed both of those assignments by flying colours. But I think the beginning of the European campaign for me told us that we've still got a long way to go, and obviously the first game. Obviously against Istanbul gave us a stark reminder of just about how precarious Scottish football is at such moment in time. I mean, there was 800 Hearts fans there tonight, right? And that was even despite the game being a dead rubber, which tells you everything you need to know. I mean, Graham is better equipped to obviously go and answer Hearts questions in comparison to myself, because obviously, but then at the same time, I'm probably the most brutal one out there when it comes to speaking about Hearts, probably because I speak the truth sometimes. But yeah. I think for Hearts, I think the main intention now is to finish third in the Premiership again. I mean, they've had a disappointing European campaign. The objective is to finish third. Momentum-wise in the league, they're getting there, hitting better strides this time. They've got a good victory up in Dingwall on Sunday, Hearts. And then they've got another massive game this Sunday coming up against Motherwell. So I think if you're Robbie Nelson, I don't think he'll be too downhearted. Obviously, he'll be striving for better, but he's always got an improvement in his mindset. He's always got an improvement in his mindset, saying we want to be back next year.
I don't know about you, Dave. Right? Maybe this is a bit unfair of me, right? But obviously, we were coming on to the show. I was taking notes of the game, but I think it's very difficult to keep up with the game because I felt as though, again, it was playing at that kind of like pre-season pace, if you know what I mean. And it didn't help. It didn't help. I missed the first few minutes, and Hearts were getting beat 1-0. And Craig Gordon, I don't know what he was doing with that second goal that they lost. I mean, we speak about Craig Gordon every week on this show, and we say, well, if it wasn't for Craig Gordon, where would Hearts be? And Craig Gordon made a mistake tonight to make it 2-0. And then before you know it, 3-0, the game was over. Hearts pulled a goal back late enough through Atherton. Brilliant goal. Well, it was a good goal, but disappointing end.
Let's be honest here. Craig Gordon has been the messiah for Hearts for many years, right? But at the same time as well, he's never going to get it right all the time, and he's had a few mistakes this year, which I think has been undermined a little bit and a little bit underestimated. And he had a mistake against Celtic, he had a mistake against Aberdeen, and he had a mistake tonight against Istanbul. That's 3 mistakes. But my point is here, Michael, is Craig Gordon's played a lot of football this season. And if Hearts are relying on a 40-year-old to get them out of the grave, that just tells you everything you need to know about how Hearts are so precarious defensively just now. I mean, Hearts never strengthened in the right areas in the close season and during the pre-season. They were raucous in terms of, obviously, the support for Craig Gordon. This is ultimately Craig Gordon's last season of football. And I think we need to be applauding Craig Gordon with every possible gratitude possible. He's been a terrific stalwart to Heart about Wolverhampton Football Club, right? We've got to be looking at this and saying, let's end it on the high for Craig. But most importantly as well, we've got to be remembering one of the best goalkeepers in Scottish football for the last 2 decades. I mean, we've had some good goalkeepers in terms of goalkeepers from England and Fraser Forster and Joe Hart. Alan McGregor's a good goalkeeper for Rangers. Maybe past his peak a little bit now considering age, but he's still come up with good saves on occasion for Rangers. And I think we've got to be remembering Craig Gordon for the type of goalkeeper he is. He's a legacy. He's a legacy for the goalkeeping union in Scottish football. And as much as tonight will be a disappointing one for Craig, at exactly the same time, we'll look at Craig Gordon and say he's been brilliant, right? If we're going to criticise Craig Gordon, we might as well criticising every other goalkeeper in Scottish football because goalkeepers are immune and prone to mistakes on occasion and also all the time. And it's how you bounce back from them. I mean, this is a sore word for Hearts, right? But Robbie Nielsen will not admit to Michael McEwan about this, right? But he'll admit to his players privately, internally, going, look, the Europa Conference League was what it was, right? We go again. We've got 3 massive games before the World Cup. It's an opportunity to go and rest the batteries, go again. And then it's an opportunity to build on what's been a fine couple of weeks for Hearts because let's be honest, they were resolute and valiant against Celtic. They were comfortable enough in Dingwall on Sunday, as much as they were disappointed in assignments such as Aberdeen away, just to give you an example. At exactly the same time, you look at Hearts and say they're progressing. They're progressing under Robbie. Yes, Robbie Nielsen is prone to unjustified criticism. I say unjustified vehemently in the aspect that Robbie Nielsen has done a lot of fantastic work with Hearts, but because of previous misdemeanours in aspect of Hibson Scottish Cup, yeah, and also probably the fact that he left Hearts for MK Dons leaves a broken jaw in Hearts fans' minds, and that this is where Hearts need to be a little bit more vigilant. But I mean, what a turnaround from Hearts because we were on the show. People have been going about. Fans have been expressing their own opinions recently, going, "Is Robbie Nielsen the right man for Hearts?" Exactly the same time, Michael. You look at the managers that Hearts have had over the last, let's say, decade, and the real Hearts have had all their problems on and off the park, and that's obviously been well documented. But has there ever been a successful manager as Robbie Nielsen, apart from Laszlo, and I'd probably say Paulo Sergio? I don't think there has been.
What about Jog Spurley? Obviously, you can't measure him because he
Well,
was.
I said last decade. If we go last
Yeah,
2 decades,
yeah,
2 decades, George Bell is in that bracket, yes.
yeah. No, exactly. Miss Graham has come in and said, home games in Europe for Hearts has been a whole letdown. I suppose, like we have to say that if we want our Scottish teams to progress, Dave, the biggest factor is winning your home games. Too many mistakes and goals were lost. Too many mistakes were lost. Very poor. So there you go. Graham's given a quick review of the 6 games at
Well,
Hearts.
when you look at tonight, Graham's came on previously and says he thinks, like said, Pollock should be given a chance. Pollock ultimately set up Hearts' goal. His ball came into Shanklin. Shanklin had his shot rebounded by the goalkeeper and Nathaniel Atkinson knocked in the rebound. And Pollock's got a huge part to play in this Hearts team. Is he ready to be playing consistently, in my honest opinion? Probably not, Graham. If Graham wants to disagree, go ahead, Graham. But yeah, I think Pollock, for me, has got a lot of foundations still to grow, but he's shown in Europe and he's shown domestically that he's doing a lot of good things right so far. And it's about adding little wee things to his game. But let's be honest, Hearts are quite not massive, but they're quite restrained in midfield. They've got a lot of midfielders, and that blocks out Pollock getting a lot of game time. Is Pollock better than Keogh? I think he is. I think he offers a lot more of a forward-thinking approach to his play. He obviously does a lot more deep line stuff as well. And Pollock is everything a Hearts fan craves, but also, most importantly, Pollock would get a lot of respect out of Hearts fans for the fact that he's homegrown. They're bringing in players like Keogh and Devlin, and don't get me wrong, the latter is a very good midfielder, but Pollock is homegrown, and Scottish football fans in particular love homegrown players.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, so where did it go wrong for Hearts this season? And I'm not going to say where did it go right for Hearts, because I think there's 2 games that they won the back-to-back game, that I think that's where it went right for Hearts in terms of getting 6 points. And I still say that Hearts has beat Celtic and Rangers, winning not even 1 game but 2 games, Dave. But what can Hearts learn from this? Is it a case of, are we being a bit unfair to Hearts because this is the first time they've been in Europe for many a year? Is it a rebuilding job? A bit like Celtic and Rangers. And
I think it's a few things, so we could be here a while, right? But I think it's injuries, which is not an excuse, but there has been injuries. There's also been depleted in certain areas. I don't think it's been enough strength and depth from Robbie Nielsen this season, defensively in particular. I think Hearts have been left vulnerable defensively. Craig Gordon, despite having a mistake tonight, has bailed the Hearts out on a few occasions in European football this season, and I mean, tonight is a disappointing one from Craig Gordon's perspective, but as I'm saying, he's left a legacy behind for that football club, and he should be applauded. Let's be honest, Graham Duffy will be going to sportsman's dinners in 10, 20 years' time, and Craig Gordon will be in the Hall of Fame. That's how big he is with Heart and the Lovely Football Club, and that's the thing. So there's been that. Maybe the wrong structure in games. I mean, playing. This is exactly what Celtic and Rangers have been doing wrong as well. When you play in Europe, it's a totally different dynamic to playing in domestic games, where you need to get the structure adapted a little bit. Now, people will go and managers will go and say that you need to stick with what you trust in, and that's all fine and well. You believe in your process, and I'm a big believer in that personally. But at the same time as well, there comes a period of time where a plan A will not work 100% of the time. Why? Because teams will find you out, and that's exactly what's found the Hearts this season. They've had a plan B, a plan A, sorry, and they've not had a plan B, and that's exactly what's been their downfall to an extent. I mean, Lawrence Shanklin has done really, really well, but he did get off to a slow start. Midfield wise, as we touched upon, maybe the wrong structure, maybe the wrong system, all that kind of stuff, maybe the wrong players in wrong positions. And yeah, I think now Hearts isn't a club that's renowned for being a transition club, but in terms of European football, this is massive. This was massively a transition period because, let's be honest, Hearts were very much inexperienced. Only maybe Andy Halliday, Craig Gordon, Stephen Kingsley, maybe would have, and Shanklin to an extent would have played European football before. Nobody else will have played a tournament of that magnitude. I know the Conference League isn't exactly the biggest European tournament you'll ever face, but let's be honest, it's still a fantastic competition. We've seen it last season where obviously Feyenoord and Roma contested the Conference League final, two sides that are big in European football, and that's exactly what Hearts were up against. I mean, the Istanbuls and Fiorentinas in this world, they're big sides in their own right, and that's the thing. When you've got both of those sides playing, it obviously adds a little bit of excitement. It offers a tinge of enthusiasm to Hearts, and that's exactly what it brought. I mean, Hearts fans were very quick to get their tickets to fly out to Florence to play Fiorentina. They were very, very quick to go and do that. And as I said, 800 fans went to Turkey. Turkey, especially in these COVID times, may add as well. I know obviously COVID's not relinquished, but it's evolving. And but Hearts still had 800 fans. I mean, I've seen some footage of the Hearts players walking in. I don't know if this is a European requirement or what. Maybe somebody in the comments can maybe tell us. But I've seen the Hearts players through Hearts' Twitter were basically wearing face coverings, which I don't know if that's a requirement in Turkey, but I've seen Raheem Sterling for Chelsea wearing exactly the same face masks last night as well. So I think that's an interesting one because I'm not obviously aware of the requirements that are facing Scottish sides when they play in European football, but ultimately every side that Hearts have played this season have always had an assignment about them. RFS maybe a little bit differently, but when you've played Istanbul's assignment when they went to Georgia was go win the game. When they played Hearts tonight, it was from Emery Belozoglu, sorry, it was finish top of the group and win the group. For Fiorentina, it was simply like Hearts are a good whipping boy for us. Go and get 2 wins. That's exactly what Fiorentina did. They wiped the floor with Hearts in the first leg. A few fantastic free kicks I may add, but they wiped the floor with Hearts in the first leg. And then the second leg, the game in Edinburgh, pardon me, let's be honest, Hearts weren't set up right defensively. They were all over the shop, and this is where I'm getting at, Michael. They are just a little bit precarious, and they don't exactly look after them. It's like a casualty defensively. Now, do Hearts have dirty laundry? No, I don't think they do. They did before, but they've kind of rectified that now. They've rectified that both at a European level and the domestic level now. Let's be honest. If we're putting a report card down for Hearts, I'd be putting it down as a D minus because let's be honest, they've had two wins over RFS. Was it Istanbul? Was that maybe a missed opportunity? Probably, but you've got to remember, Istanbul are a fantastic side, and I made the point to you guys, and I was looking at reports of Istanbul prior to the Europa Conference League starting, and a lot of people were saying about the fact that they were challenging for the Turkish League last season. Let's not mistaken here. The Turkish League's a fantastic league. You've got Fenerbahce, Galatasaray. That's sides that would do well in Scottish football given the opportunity. I know, obviously, it would come to that, obviously, but yeah, I think Hearts could take a lot of learnings from this, but it's the reaction that's going to be pivotal for me because do Hearts have the courage? Do they have the desire to go again? But most importantly, go and get European football again because obviously they're a tremendous campaign last season. This is a test of mentality for me to see where Hearts are
at. When you were talking about face masks there, like I don't know that either, Dave, but I'm guessing that it's a UEFA requirement because I remember Rangers going to Anfield and I saw Van Bronckhorst and the team coming in wearing face masks. So I think UEFA has still got that in place. In terms of like what we were saying early on, and like I've been saying this in the last couple of shows that I've been on, is that when teams are going to Champions League and the Conference League and stuff like that. It's okay being at the party, but you want to do something at the party. But in saying that, should we be cutting Hearts a bit of slack here? Because you've got to remember that they're not playing with the same budget Celtic and Rangers are playing at, and also it's the first European run for many a year. So are we being a bit kind of? Do you think we should cut Hearts some slack after tonight's European performance, and then hopefully as they get into next year's the Europa Cup or Conference League, they will learn from this?
Yeah. In terms of this party thing, I mean, I think it's the wrong terminology to use because I think Hearts have been at the party, but they've just come up a little bit short. I think Hearts have looked at this and went and said to themselves, "Look, we can do a little bit extra. We can strive for extra." I don't think you're being harsh at all in your thoughts and your phrases, but at exactly the same time, you look at Hearts and say for themselves, they're against the Fiorentina side that quite simply were a decent side in Serie A last year, and they were also up against an Istanbul that quite simply have a better calibre player to choose from. So when you look at that, when you look at that, I mean, can Hearts improve? 100%. Have Hearts been poor in stages? But let's be honest. We look at this at two ways, Michael. If you put Rangers and if you put Rangers or Celtic in Hearts' position, I'm expecting improvement, right? But if you put that in the other way around and put Hearts in Champions League, you're expecting five, such as what Real Madrid gave Celtic last night. You're expecting seven, such as what Liverpool gave Rangers. So it's a hard one. But yeah, I think at exactly the same time, you look at Hearts and say the jigsaw's still not been sorted yet because ultimately I don't think Hearts were ready. They weren't ready for European football. Simple as that. Humphreys, good addition, but maybe not the finished article. Obviously, Graham was languishing at the fact that the Hearts didn't exactly bring in any deadline day additions apart from Humphreys. Midfield wise, could have done with a bit of strength, and as I said, defensively exactly the same. And then I like to see. Excuse me. I'd like to see Xander Clark getting a bit more opportunities because ultimately this is going to be Craig Gordon's last season playing in a Hearts shirt.
I
And
think that was a perfect.
Xander Clark's obviously going to be playing in action for Hearts next year. I know what you're right to say there. It was a perfect opportunity for Xander Clark to most importantly get European football. The pitch to play on tonight, I think St Johnstone played in that specific surface last season as well when they played Galatasaray. So he'd have been quite familiar with the surface. But I think in terms of Hearts, they've still got a lot of rebuilding to do. But hopefully the 2 wins against RFS could be a blessing in disguise for Hearts because hopefully it gives Robbie Nelson the budget to go and get players in there. Obviously, you want the right calibre of players to come in, but also you want strength and depth as well because that for me is where Hearts have been left behind. And that's why the likes of Polk, despite the fact that he has shown decent authority in his play this year, that's probably why he's gotten opportunities, primarily because obviously the lack of strength and depth, probably.
Now I've been saying this from since he signed for Hearts, Dave, and obviously we know that he wasn't singing time, but I'm convinced if Snodgrass was singing time, I'm not saying Hearts would win every game. I'm saying Hearts would maybe have a chance of nicking points here and there, because I don't know about you, but I mean okay, he's getting older. Yeah, we all agree that, but he's still a bit of a goal threat as well.
Sorry, who was that about? Sorry, because I was busy dealing with a text there.
Yeah, oh, wait, that's bad. Yeah, no, I was guessing about Snodgrass, right? And I know I say this every week on the show, but
no, I
mean,
understood your question. I understood your question there.
yeah.
Yeah, about Snodgrass there. I mean, he's a player that would have offered Hearts a lot of European experience, but at the same time as well, obviously, constraints went against his way, and that's unfortunate from a Hearts persuasion. But what a fantastic cross position to have moving forward if Hearts do get to this stage this time next year. And I mean, Hearts can obviously relish that in all their glory, but at the same time as well, could they have done with somebody like him 100%? But for me, I still think Hearts are 3 or 4 players short. Graham just said that he thinks Hearts maybe need a few more additions in January. For me, I think they're 3 or 4 players short. For me, the goalkeeping situation is a little bit cynical right now because I'm not a big bull. Well, they've got a few players out loan, to my understanding, so they could possibly take them players back from loan and obviously have conversations internally and say, look, Gordon's retiring, this is your opportunity to get back in and get yourself back involved and get yourself some European football and more exposure, most importantly. Defensively, as I said, I think Hearts need a bit more. And then, as I'm saying, Kingsley, Halkett, Rills, Bennett, Beningame, and Wayne Boyce and Devlin have all been massive misses for Hearts this year. They all start for Hearts when they're fit, and that's where Hearts have been missing. They've been missing a powerhouse in midfield. They've been missing a leader up front, probably. Shanklin's obviously been doing well, but Shanklin's better if you're playing a 4-4-2, or you can play a 4-2-3-1, but you've got to hit the right formula players alongside him as well. This is where Snodgrass comes in though as well, because he could probably play that defensive midfield side of things. So in terms of that, Hearts have been missing him massively in European terms, and let's be honest, it's changed the whole approach for Hearts, but it's still not been good enough because they've been found out massively against sides such as Fiorentina and Istanbul. Now, let's flip the coin on the other side here, Michael. Would a Rangers or Celtic have competed better against Istanbul and Fiorentina? I think they would have. I think Rangers or Celtic would have qualified, right? But I say that in the justice of the fact that they had a better calibre of squad to go and choose from at this precise moment in time. Injuries, as I said at the top of the show, have not helped Hearts one single bit, and that's been their downfall. And when you look at Hearts, great to see Connor Swift start tonight. Graham obviously touched upon that in the comment section there. Great to see Connor Swift starting tonight. And yeah, Connor Swift's a player to watch out for in the future. I hope Hearts go for the more youth prodigies again in the future again, because it's worked fantastically well for them over the last decade. I mean, some of it's been a necessity for the club, considering obviously the financial predicaments that they faced, but at the same time as well, it's something that's worked tremendously well for them. And Pollock and Connor Smith coming through is only going to suit them once more. And here's hoping that they can find another gem like a Rudy Scatchell or a Roman Bender or who else? Aladria Kingston. Now, players are totally different now from what they were back then, but if they can find a player of that calibre or that magnitude, now, as Graham touched upon in the comment section again on Facebook, I did watch Hearts a few weeks ago, but I thought they were erratic. I thought they were in disarray. Not disarray in terms of they were total rubbish. They were in disarray because of their overall system. But that's what I'm saying. It's funny how football works, Michael, and how things can change in a short space of time, because Hearts did have chances, but it's fine margins. I mean, Cochrane missed that tremendous chance. Shankland had a chance, and let's be honest, he was on a bit of a wall back then, wasn't he? And when you look at it, Hearts are a good side going forward. For me, the lack of bit of penetration. I might be horribly wrong in that. If Hearts fans want to jump in, fair enough. But I think the lack of bit of penetration in the final third. But apart from that, they are quite a positive team whenever they're on the front foot. Defensively, I don't think there was a lot wrong with Hearts when I seen them a couple of weeks ago. But at the same time as well, when you've not got players such as Halkett, when you're replacing a big figure or a big influence in John Suter, despite his injury-prone commitments last season, you always are going to get left behind. And for me, it shows you that when you've got one or two massive influential players or senior figures left behind, it is an uphill task for your club, and that's exactly what Hearts found out this year.
Now, there's 2 games to go, Dave, before the World Cup. Do you think it's about time
Three.
that Zank
Three.
three? Well, yeah. Sorry, 3 games could go because I forgot about the midweek games as well next week. Do you think it's a? Do you think it's a case of playing Zangitak in one of the games because he's not made his debut yet? And the reason I'm saying that is it's not because Craig Gordon made a mistake tonight, because Hearts were kind of like already out anyway, but it's just to give him some game time, because am I right in saying he's not played for Hearts this season yet?
Yeah, well, I'm going to give Xander Clark a little bit of respite in this regard because obviously there's honeymoon. And let's be honest, Xander Clark's timed this whole thing perfectly, isn't he? Because the honeymoon period came during the course season. I think it was a good opportunity for him to go recharge the batteries. But as you say, now's the right time for him to get some action. Like Hearts' next 3 games are Motherwell,
Motherwell on Sunday,
Motherwell on
yeah.
Sunday, Rangers at Ibrox on Wednesday, and then Livingston at home next Saturday. Right, for me, Xander Clark, when he was at St Johnstone, was one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and I think a game against Motherwell or indeed Livingston is that perfect opportunity to have Xander Clark in the goals, especially because I know Scotland have a training camp coming up, which is irrelevant in terms of any proper meaning behind it from a Scottish persuasion. There's no real purpose for it apart from Stevie Clark wanting to get his players together for a training session or two, or obviously a game or two, which is healthy, but exactly the same time players need a break. And I think the SFA need to start acknowledging that a little bit more because obviously Scotland travel to Turkey the next few weeks, of course. But exactly the same time, I'll be using this opportunity wisely to get like Xander Clark involved. But also, I'm not just going to mention Xander Clark here, Michael. I'm also going to mention Pollock. I'm going to mention Michael Connor Smith. I think they're deserving of opportunities. I think they need more opportunities to start playing a lot more. And I think if they can do that, they can go and recharge the batteries of Alexander Clark. And then for the latter two, Pollock and Connor Smith, they can go into games after in the Christmas period and be like, I've got a taste of what it's like to play for the club. I've got a taste of what it's like playing at Tynecastle because Hearts have got 2 winnable games against Livingston and Hearts. Livingston and Motherwell, pardon me. They've got 2 massively winnable games. And I think if they get that familiarity, nothing's going to bewilder them. Nothing's going to leave them spooked or and they'll get plenty of exposure. They've already had first team action against obviously Rangers, but let's be honest, that was probably a dead rubber for Rangers because of for both sides. Pardon me, because Hearts in the Scottish Cup final week after, and then Rangers basically played their under 18 side that day because obviously they had the Europa League final a couple of days later. So they've already had that taste, but have they had that taste of playing against players that, let's be honest, have played 200-300 games more senior level than them? No, they haven't. I mean, it was great that Pollock played tonight, but at the same time as well, they need testing more. And the next 3 team selections for Hearts, for me, will give us a big indication of how things are going to look at Christmas and the New Year and beyond, because is it a case of Robbie going for the try and test and see how it goes, or does he change his approach to to for the long term? It's a big question. It's going to be in my eyes, and I hope he does that with Xander Clark as well, because for me, as much as Craig Gordon's leaving behind a legacy in terms of his goalkeeping exploits, it's big shoes to fill from Xander Clark's point of view. At exactly the same time, I would be looking at this from Xander Clark's point of view and go, give him game time, give him the foundations to go and get games, and give him the foundations to get familiar with Hearts players on a professional and competitive environment. Now, it's good doing it in training and all that kind of stuff, but training is completely different from a game management situation or a game management environment. And I'm going to go to Alan Smith's point here. He says here, for me personally, I think there should be a new captain. We have been missing a leader in the middle of the park and defence for a while. For me, I don't know if you guys agree, Graham or Alan, or if any other Hearts fans are tuning in. I don't know if you agree, but I think Robert Snodgrass is made out to be Hearts captain just now, right? I think in the aspect of the injuries they have, or Cammy Devlin, because according to the reports, Graham Devlin could be um, back come the weekend, but whether that's true or not is yet to be confirmed. But For me, I would have somebody like Robert Snodgrass, somebody that knows the game, somebody that knows how to be a leader, somebody that's been at a high level in the country, somebody that knows Scottish football inside out, somebody that's a senior figure, and somebody that could do all different kinds to their game.
Thanks for watching, Aaron. Aaron Smith watching on YouTube. Don't forget you can comment on anything that me and Dave's talking about. We are here until 7 o'clock. We're looking back at another defeat for another Scottish team tonight. Hearts get beat by 3-1. Dave, do you think that this will be a learning curve for Hearts? Because as I say, I mean, they've not been in Europe for ages. In fact, I don't think they've got this far in the European football. It's actually to be commended that they have made all this way, because Celtic and Rangers has been carrying the can for Scottish football for years in European football. But what can Hearts kind of like take away from this experience, apart from the obvious one, start winning games?
As I said, I think the structure has to be improved on a European level because, let's be honest, Michael, 800 Hearts fans travelled up tonight. Would you be happy if you were a Hearts fan and you were playing 5 in the back against Istanbul away from home? For me, it's a rather dangerous mentality to have. I mean, Hearts are organised. Robbie Nelson's an organised manager. He has organised teams. But for me, I wouldn't be having 5 at the back. Now, obviously, this 5 at the back that I'm on about can either be traditional or it could be a 5 at the back where you've got 2 wing backs. All fine and well. But at exactly the same time, for me, if you were to ask me who I thought the Hearts start lineup should have been tonight, I'd have went for Craig Gordon, as per usual. Or I'd have given Xander Clark a chance, but I'd have went for Craig Gordon. I'd have probably started Michael Smith. I'd have played. I'd have went for that back four pairing because I'm a big believer you don't change what's working. And Sibic's been doing very, very well for Hearts recently. Atkinson obviously got that goal tonight, and I'd have kept him in the team. For me, great to see Devlin back in tonight. I actually didn't realise he actually started tonight, but I'd have probably started Polk tonight, but I'd have also tried to start somebody like Josh Ginnelly because he's a player that frustrates Hearts fans for me, and I'd have went for something that would have been a little bit out and ordinary and something that would have been a little bit out of the box, and I'd have went and said for tonight, and I'd have went and said, do something, show me that you're in the Hearts bubble. Show me you're in the Hearts party. Show me you're capable of playing for a club this size like Hearts. Because let's be honest, tonight was a dead rubber, and it wasn't the opportunity for me to play the strongest 11. Tonight it was an opportunity for me for Robbie Nielsen to go and look at the team and say, I'm playing you guys because it's basically a trial game. A trial game in aspect to knock at my door and say, Gaffer, I've had a good performance against Istanbul on Thursday evening. Can I get an opportunity to play even more games? It's about having that competition. Competition's healthy. And when you're playing Nielsen, Sibic, Michael Smith, Cochrane, Devlin, I'm forced to an extent, it possesses a lot of thought for me. Now, I think Robbie Nielsen did the right thing by benching Lawrence Shanklin, Andy Halliday, Barry Mackay. But for me, I think Josh Nelly should have been given a chance. I think Polk should have been given a chance. And I think perhaps Keogh should have been given a chance. But apart from that, I'd have had that team in limelight for Sunday. Now, where the Hearts have to improve structure, as I said, both defensively and midfield wise. Great to see Henderson getting a chance as well tonight, by the way. Probably strength and depth is where Hearts had to learn from as well, because let's be honest, had it not been for the players that came on tonight, I still think Hearts have places to go. I still think the 5 players short of where they should be in terms of the European exploits. They're quite good in terms of the they're quite good in terms of their domestic exploits, but domestic to European football is two completely different things, as I've alluded to already. And I think if Hearts can get the balance right, they'll be in a stronger place come next season. Now, Robbie Nielsen's been backed to an extent. Well, I say to an extent because he's took in like Shanklin, but they could have done a little bit more improvement in the defensive areas. Sibic was the ghost to Gorgie prior to last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago. Now he's the GOAT, the greatest of all time upon many, and he needs to maintain that consistency now. But also, let's be honest, Hearts have got one of the youngest defences in the league right now. If you look at Smith, Sibic, Nielsen, and Cochrane, have they missed Stephen Kingsley? 100% they have, and they've not given young players a chance. They've got a really strong youth academy, Hearts. Right, they're one of the best in the country when it comes to bringing in youth players. They're one of the biggest in the country when it comes to promoting youth talent. They're one of the biggest in terms of their foundations. They pay coaches very, very good money at the youth level at Hearts, which goes to show you where Hearts trust their youth academy. It's one of the highest in the country, right? It's probably higher than Rangers and Celtic. It's probably higher than Aberdeen. It's probably higher than their Edinburgh rival, Hibernian, which goes to show you that if Hearts had a bit more trust, but also back that up by bringing in good quality additions that were ultimately going to give Robbie Nielsen welcome headaches, Hearts would have been in a better position. And that's something for me that Hearts need to learn on heading into next year. Have they been missing a leader? 100%. They've been missing a leader in the aspect that their game management defensively has just not been good enough. For me, Robbie Nielsen gets a lot of praise and he gets a lot of stick and slack for his team selections. But for me, a lot of Hearts' good defensive work and set piece work comes from Gordon Forrest and Lee McCulloch. And Gordon and McCulloch will be the first ones to admit they'll be fuming for how they've been set up in terms of defensive organisation in European football. They'll be the first ones to be telling Robbie Nielsen, look, we need to be bringing in reinforcements, but not only reinforcements, we need to be bringing in players that are ultimately going to help us in terms of our ambitions moving forward. Because ultimately, Hearts have set a benchmark. They haven't set a benchmark in the European level yet, but they set a benchmark last season in terms of finishing third. And they've got to maintain that moving forward now. Because let's be honest, the Scottish Premiership, in my honest opinion, has strengthened this season. You've got Aberdeen that are buoyant again. The Sergeant, Jim Goodwin's doing reasonably well. They're still a little bit short, in my honest opinion. Let's be honest, Jim Goodwin's changed a lot of things in a short space of time. Hibs are going reasonably well under Lee Johnson. St Mirren, well, they went under the radar, haven't they? But then at the same time, you've got Dundee United underperforming, Ross County underperforming. You've got Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock's a very precarious situation right now because you don't know what you're getting out of Kilmarnock. And obviously, Lafferty has got that prolonged ban that obviously is well documented about. So, I think there's a lot to be convinced about from Hearts in terms of Europe this season, but that will be overshadowed by the fact that they've still got tons and tons of work to do.
When you look at the Hearts team tonight, Dave, and I know you mentioned that about Henderson, Forrest, Grant, Devlin, Smith, Cochrane, and even Robbie Nielsen, it's good experience for them. Because don't forget, players like that is the first ever European experience. And then I put Robbie Nielsen into that box as well. So when they come back to European action next season and the season after, hopefully, then they're going to learn from their mistakes, and not even the mistakes, but just getting used to playing at that level, because we always talk about levels in Scottish football, and let's face it, I mean, when you're going into European action, you're going up. You know, not one level, but 2 levels, or maybe 3 levels. And I suppose that's a good level for Hearts to be at next season, could go forward in European action, because it's not like Scottish football. it's not like that. You can have time on the ball and stuff like that. You know, when you make a big pass and all that, that the players on it, you like a flash. So, you know, hopefully that they can come back next season and learn from the mistakes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you look at it from a Hearts point of view, I mean, they've made mistakes, but I had that feeling. I don't know what other Hearts fans would have been feeling, but from the outside looking in, I had the gut feeling that Hearts weren't going to do well in Europe this year. When I looked at that group, I thought they were going to finish third. That's exactly how it prevailed to be. I looked at this from a Hearts point of view and said to myself, good squad, needs a little bit more glue and balance. It didn't have that, and Hearts have been needing reinforcements for a while now. But also at the same time, if they can get the right caliber of player in, it will push them up. It will push Hearts up 2 levels, as you kind of alluded to there. And I think Hearts, they're not in a bad position. But Hearts, excluding excluding the Glasgow teams, Hearts are probably one of the better sides in Scottish football when it comes to over player unity. But also, they're probably one of the better sides in Scottish football when it comes to an organisation. But they're also one of the better sides in Scottish football when it comes to the players they have. Do they have a better side than Hibs on paper? I'd probably say they would. I think they've got a better side than Hibs on paper in the aspect that they offer a lot more cohesion about their play. I don't think the likes of Hibs and other sides offer that. Well, no, what I will say is Hibs obviously have parallels to Hearts, but Hearts have a better uh, cohesion and organisation about their play. Aberdeen still have a long way to go. So when you look at it from a Hearts point of view, once they got their players back, they arguably are the third best team in Scottish football, in my honest opinion. Because let's be honest, a lot of the players that did so well with them last year were players that obviously put in a power of work. And let's be honest, Wayne Boyce delivered the goods on various occasions for Hearts last year. But take Wayne Boyce out of the equation here. Did Hearts really have a 20 goal striker in their squad last season? Not really. They've got Lawrence Shankland in this season, but what's Hearts been missing this season? Cohesion in the aspect that they've not had players now. I think they do have a good cohesion, but as I'm alluded to, there's still 2 or 3 players short. My honest opinion, it's good just to see if they can get those players in. I think obviously also for Robbie Nelson, he'll have a lot of learnings to take out of this as well because does Robbie Nielsen have a potential management, a better potential management, or a bigger potential management? I still think he does. I mean, him, Lee McCulloch, and Gordon Forrest have worked with each other for quite a while now. First and foremost at Dundee United, and then obviously been at Hearts, where they were obviously. Let's be honest, when Hearts got promotion to the Premiership, nobody was expecting Hearts to even be thinking about European football. They
No,
were expecting Hearts to be competitive in the Premiership because
they weren't even
they
expecting.
came up for the Championship and flushed that with flying colours. But at the same time as well, Hearts came into the Premiership and just blew everybody by surprise. They were unstoppable at times. People look at
Yeah,
Hearts and saying, "What a brilliant side we've got at our disposal." And let's be honest, I think Hearts going down to the Championship was the best thing to happen to Hearts because it allowed them to reset the button and go again. They brought in Robbie Nielsen, a very astute appointment, and they were allowed to go again. And let's be honest, I think this campaign is a black mark for the Hearts management team. But
mm,
how much black marks do I think they've had? I think they've had 3 black marks. They've had Scottish Cup defeat to Hibs when Hibs won it. They've had this season, and they've probably had one more that you can maybe correct me and spring it to mind, Michael. But I'm thinking MK Dons.
yeah. No, definitely. That was a bit of that was a bit of a letdown. But what I was going to say, Dave, was and Graham speaks about this when they join on the show as well. But yeah, I mean you're right in terms of like Hearts getting into the Premiership, and obviously, if you're getting promoted, well, you're automatically, you know, the bookies and all that is going to say, well, they're going to go back down. but nobody thought Hearts would come up last season and make it to a Scottish Cup final. And okay, they get well beaten there, right? But from coming all the way up to the big boys league, if you want to call it like that, and get the final and finishing in the top six in your first season in the Premiership, that's got to be commended in European football as well, And so, but Hearts fans needs to think about where they came from. Yeah, and to be honest, apart from the European run this season, they've done all right so far, and hopefully my bet will come up at the end of the season because I tipped Hearts to finish third place. Now you might say, "Oh, Aberdeen as well," but I mean the two teams, the Hearts and Aberdeen, that they're not very consistent as of yet. However, Hearts has got the squad. I think if there's and I say this again, if there's get Robert Snodgrass into a run of games, he can score like 15 goals a season, easy.
But it's not only about his goals either. It's about his overall play.
Yeah,
it's about the fact that he can get it's about his leadership skills for me.
Yeah. No, definitely, yeah. Obviously, we've got 10 minutes left in the show. If you want to comment on anything, if you're watching YouTube or Facebook Live,
sorry, Michael,
you can comment.
I've got another black mark for Robbie Nielsen, Brother Rangers.
Yeah. Well, don't start Graham on that. I think we've got 9 minutes left now, so he'll take us into another half an hour if he can. I think he's trying to forget about that Brother Rangers performance in the cup, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, that's embarrassing, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, for Hearts in Europe this season, I think it's just a learning curve, Dave. And I know you said there that when the group stages came out, you tipped Cats to finish third. What they did finish third, but I think it was all about experience as well. But if you ask any Hearts fan, you might or else Graham or Craig or Greg, they might say they would want to put in a kind of decent performance as well, and they've not done that apart from the two back-to-back games where they got 6 points from.
Well, football's all about a product, isn't it? I mean, it's good for players. It's good for fans to get away to Florence and Istanbul and Riga, and it's obviously good countries to go and visit. And obviously, it's good to get away from Scotland, especially after the COVID interruptions that we've faced over the last couple of years. But at exactly the same time, football is a product, and you need to be using wisely. I mean, you look at this and say to yourself, right, if we can go and put on a show for the Hearts fans alongside them enjoying plenty of beers and plenty of sherbets and plenty of food and plenty of delicacy in other countries. It's a win-win. For me, Hearts have done well against RFS and they've been, but then every Hearts fan will also tell you that they could have improved better. Now, if we look at Hearts in a score of 0-10, I'd probably say that the Europa Conference League group has probably been I'll probably say a 3 or a 4, which is putting it blunt, but at exactly the same time as well. It goes to show you that there's plenty of improvement still to come from Hearts as well.
No, I think I would agree with that. I'm just laughing at a picture that Paul Mitchell put up. Obviously, he was working at the game tonight. And he was in a state of shock because you know yourself, Dave, right? When you go to games here, you get pies and sausage rolls and all the healthy stuff at halftime. No, what he got tonight? He got 2 mini donuts. And if you don't believe me, you can go on after the show and see it. But donuts at the football.
I'll tell you a story, Michael. See, a couple of weeks ago, I both played Raith Rovers on a Wednesday night, and I was on duty that night for the papers. And I both have an affiliation with Domino's Pizza. right?
Oh yeah,
And
I think you've told me this one. Yeah.
right, and it's usually pies you get. It's usually steak and black pudding pies that you get from obviously the local butcher in the broth. But that obviously because of the time constraints and the fact you can't cook them again and all that kind of stuff, it was pizza for the press guys that night in question, which is a lot more delicate than the food that Paul Mitchell got served up tonight. That's for sure.
I'm sorry I mentioned that now, Dave, about the pizzas because basically I'm not like a horse, but I'm foaming at the mouth just thinking about a pizza. But there you go. So that's my fault that I mentioned again. Paul Mitchell's donuts, or else they could say Paul is a donut. But anyway, no. So if you want to go and see that, Dave, after the show, or
No, I've seen it already. I've seen it already. I looked at it briefly, but I thought I was looking at myself going, I wouldn't be wanting that.
yeah, all the way to Israel for a donut, and stuff like that. Anyway, do not say that, Dave. Do not say
Do
that.
not say that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Never came out the way that I want to get to. But anyway, let's get back to talk about the football and let's leave the food for another show on Indie Live. So yeah, I mean, I suppose it was good experience for Hearts fans as well, going away to see that their team and like even though Hearts has been beaten in all the games, bar 2 games, they've actually go get out of their away game this season in European football as well. So that's one for the archives.
Yeah. No, it's been brilliant from Hearts fans, isn't it? I mean, the fact they went to Florence. I mean, Florence is obviously a beautiful city, and obviously Florence was good for in terms of get some sun, get some beers,
You
get
get
some
nice pizzas there as well.
yeah, nice pizzas in Florence, yes. And obviously an opportunity to go and watch Hearts in action. Fiorentina's got a decent enough looking ground as well. So that was all fine and well. Istanbul's got a decent looking ground. I've seen some of the pictures from their ground tonight. Can't say some of the press guys that are down in Edinburgh. They were obviously flying over for representing Hearts, and it looked decent enough. And obviously Riga, not exactly the biggest looking ground, but obviously quite sublime in its own fashion as well. So yeah, when you look at all the games involved, I mean, Hearts have been striving for progression, but that didn't turn out to be the case in the end, unfortunately. But now the big challenge from Hearts is to make sure that doesn't become a one-off. Now the big challenge of Hearts is to make sure that that's happening again next year, and they might get an English team, they might get an Irish team. I mean, let's be honest here, Michael. Had had Linfield beaten RFS, Hearts fans would have been going to Northern Ireland, and that would have been some good. They would have brought in a huge contingency with them had they been away to Northern Ireland, just because it's obviously either a ferry away or even a flight away. So yeah, plenty of positivity from a Hearts point of view in terms of booking some holidays and getting some much needed TLC in terms of some sun, especially after not getting enough of that here in Scotland in the last few years and not having the ability to travel either, unless you've also had vaccinations and stuff like that. So here's hoping it's gave some Hearts some good moments, and long may that continue, of course.
Yeah, I think like when you've experienced European football once, you want it again. So that means Hearts will be determined.
It's like a drug. It's like a
Yeah.
drug. And we obviously promote drugs responsibly in this show, but it's like a drug.
Yeah. So we went from drugs to Domino's pizzas tonight. This is going to be a very interesting show. I might phone Mary Berry to see if she's available to come on the show tomorrow night and give it. No, I'm only kidding. Just in case people actually said Mary who, but it's a bit of a joke. But yeah, I mean, so tomorrow night, Dave, obviously we would make you speak about the European accent, but also into that pot we need we must not forget about Motherwell and Dundee United as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, let's be honest, Motherwell were obliterated, and Dundee United were good, but not quite great, were they?
No, exactly. Yeah, one hit wonder, you would say. But yeah, so thanks, Dave, for joining me tonight, and also through the whole campaign, we've been quite busy, always on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. we'll be back tomorrow night at 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock with a big preview show. And then on Sunday, between 3 and 5. And don't forget, we've got the Hearts game on Sunday as well. So we'll be keeping tabs on that, and also the women's football as well. So we'll be on Sunday. So thanks to Dave, thanks to Graham, thanks to everybody that's been involved in the European programme this season. And we will be back tomorrow night here on Indie Live Radio at 5 o'clock. So take care, and I will speak to you soon.
The Conference League has Scottish representation. If you want to know what's happened in the game, tune in on a Thursday for the Locker Room Special on Indie Live Radio and Independence Live. Join the guys on the Locker Room team for a blow-by-blow account of